365 Sports is brought to you by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/365 and get on your way to being your best self. What are some things you want to keep the same about yourself or your life in 2024? Were you already crushing it? Think opposite of New Year, New You. Around New Year's, we get obsessed with how to change ourselves instead of just expanding on what we're already doing right. Maybe you finally organized one part of your space and you want to tackle another, or maybe you're taking your supplements every morning and now you want to actually eat breakfast too. Therapy helps you find your strengths so you can ditch the extreme resolutions and make changes that really stick. BetterHelp.com is helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Celebrate the progress you've already made. Visit betterhelp.com/365 today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/365.
Join me, 48 Hours correspondent Erin Moriarty, on my podcast, My Life of Crime, as I take on true crime investigations like no other. This season, I'm looking into the labyrinth of crime and secrets within families. I'm cutting straight to the evidence and talking to the people directly involved, including investigators and the families of victims. Listen to My Life of Crime with Erin Moriarty wherever you get your podcasts.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Hey y'all, I'm April.
And I'm Caroline.
And this
is your Bloody Happy Hour.
Caroline, are you ready for this?
This is your newest guilty pleasure.
It's the bloodiest part of your week.
Did we say something about it also being happy hour?
Show did.
Because we about to be sipping on some murder. Bloody Happy Hour. Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkahs?
And Ramadan and Kwanzaa and all the things.
All of the things. We got a quickie for you today because we know that you have a busy schedule. You got to open gifts. You got to hang out with your family. You got to eat food. You got to do, well, I don't know what you have to do, but you got to do it all. So we're going to go through 12 murders of Christmas.
Yes.
On the first day of Christmas, my true love. Okay.
So we have 12 murders of Christmas for you guys.
For your first murder, we have the Who Lover murders, 2002 in Middleton, Pennsylvania. So on Christmas Eve in 2002, Ernest R. Wholever Jr. broke into his former home with the help from his brother after being prohibited entry from the courts after being charged with sexual offenses involving molestation of his own daughters,
Ooh.
Victoria, who was 20 years old, and Elizabeth, who was 15 years old. He had been evicted after his wife Jean obtained an order under the Protection from Abuse Act. And although this was prevented him from purchasing, possessing, and carrying firearms, this didn't stop him from using one to slay his own family.
Oh my goodness.
His brother waited about a block away and acted as a lookout as Ernest approached the house and cut the telephone wires and forcibly entered the home. He shot his wife Jean, 2 daughters, Victoria and Elizabeth. He left Victoria's infant daughter unharmed. Days later, Wholever was arrested and charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder. His brother who aided him, Scott Wholever, also acted as a Commonwealth witness aiding the prosecution. Ernest Wholever, who sat on death row since 2004, while his brother was sentenced to serve 15 to 25 years.
I feel like that's still not enough. You read that so good. Were you in UIL?
Maybe.
Reading?
Definitely not.
Oral reading UIL. All right, I got a Texas Christmas massacre for you. 2011, and this is Grapevine, y'all. Another Santa Claus tainted Christmas for another family in 2011 in Texas. Aziz Yazpandaha. In the same manner of Bruce Pardo, we just talked about him, knocked on his estranged wife's door on Christmas, dressed in a Santa Claus suit, and as the family was in the middle of opening presents, he opened fire on his family. He killed his wife, Fatima, their 14-year-old son, Ali, and their 19-year-old daughter, Nona. Also victims to his rage were his wife's sister, Zoraya, that's probably not right, her husband, Muhammad, and their 22-year-old daughter, Sahara Desert, I don't know. At some point before all the slayings finished taking place, someone had called 911 from inside the apartment. Okay, so after spreading bloodshed and committing the murders, Yazda Parana committed suicide. When the family was found dead by the police that Christmas morning, wrapping paper lay scattered throughout with opened and unopened presents splattered in blood. Can you imagine that crime scene? To add the chill to the tragedy, the last text Sarah would send would be to her boyfriend, just as her uncle had shown up, expressing annoyance at him doing so, and his Santa ensemble saying now he wants to be all fatherly and win Father of the Year because he fucked up before. Oh, she was about that life. She was mad at her daddy.
Crime number 3. We have body hidden beneath Christmas presents. 2011 in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm not surprised. Michelle O'Dowd, who's 67, never imagined that her giving and welcoming spirit would be what would lead to her death when she offered her friend Patty Michelle White, 41 years old, a place to stay after she found herself homeless. By early December 2011, somehow the friendship had gone awry and things had begun to sour between the two. O'Dowd's twin brother was always suspicious of White and grew concerned when she failed to show up for work or answer her phone. So he went to her house to check on her and found her foot sticking out from beneath the presents under the Christmas tree. Her dead body laid there, buried beneath the masses of Christmas presents intended for her family and grandchildren. Her face was bloodied. White had strangled her, beat her to death, and hid her body there. She also stole her debit card and credit cards and was arrested in South Carolina after being found when she used 2 ATMs. Family members said that White was part of the family and couldn't even comprehend what had transpired. They were sickened that she would bury the body beneath the gifts meant for the children under the Christmas tree O'Dowd took so much pride in. Christmas was her favorite holiday, and she had put so much effort and time into decorating for it.
That is shitty. That's real shitty.
It's real bad.
How about Valdez's Christmas present? In quotations. 2013, Chicago, Illinois, we are coming to you. 18-year-old Alexis Valdez lived with his aunt and her boyfriend Silvestri. Ooh, I might have heard a podcast on this. When the two males got into an argument in late December 2013 about him living there rent-free and not contributing to the household. After this, Valdez was pissed. He was told that he would have to move out if he continued this way. So on Christmas Eve, while his aunt was out after drinking all night, Valdez was angered and in unjustified, uncivilized rage smashed Diaz's head with a hammer. He reportedly shut the windows, closed the blinds, played some music, probably like we have playing right now, and jammed while he used a butcher knife to cut off Silvestri's ears, nose, and mouth. How do you cut off a mouth?
I don't know.
He also cut off his arms and used his bare hands to pull out his eyes. Why didn't we do a podcast on this? And then he decapitated him, leaving his head on his aunt's pillow as an early Christmas present.
That's so nice.
And now a word from our sponsors. .365 Sports is brought to you by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/365 and get on your way to being your best self. What are some things you want to keep the same about yourself or your life in 2024? Were you already crushing it? Think opposite of New Year, New You. Around New Year's, we get obsessed with how to change ourselves instead of just expanding on what we're already doing right. Maybe you finally organized one part of your space and you want to tackle another, or maybe you're taking your supplements every morning and now you want to actually eat breakfast too. Therapy helps you find your strengths so you can ditch the extreme resolutions and make changes that really stick. BetterHelp.com is helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Celebrate the progress you've already made. Visit betterhelp.com/365 today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/365.
This episode is brought to you by Marvel Studios Echo. All episodes streaming January 9th, only on Hulu and Disney+. Rated TV MALV. Viewer discretion advised. Maya Lopez has betrayed her mentor, the notorious Kingpin. Now on the run, she returns to her hometown to prepare for the biggest fight of her life. Don't miss Marvel Studios' hardest-hitting series yet. An epic 5-episode event. Marvel Studios Echo. All episodes streaming January 9th, only on Hulu and Disney+.
After becoming tired of mutilating the body, I'm sorry.
He got tired.
He got tired. He called 911 to report a dead body. Upon arriving, police found him saturated in blood. He confessed to the murder and said he would have killed his aunt too had she been home. He was sentenced to 33 years in prison. This was an 18-year-old. And he was just mad because they told his ass to don't be a deadbeat.
Yep.
Say, man, don't be
33 years after
don't
that.
Be an Alexis.
That's all you get.
Firing squad.
He gets the firing squad.
Your turn.
Continuing on, what number are we on? 6? 5? 4?
I don't know.
No. Well, the next one.
4. Now this is 5, I think.
Christmas murder, number 5.
You want us to count and read? That's a whole lot.
Oh, no, it's a whole lot of things. Los Feliz Mansion Murders. How do you say it?
Feliz.
Los Feliz Mansion Murders, 1959, Los Angeles, California. LA is no stranger to grisly murders, but in December of 1959, it became home to one of its biggest murder mysteries, with the Perelson family murder-suicide at a Spanish revival home at Glendower Place in Los Feliz. Around 4:30 a.m. on December 26th, cardiologist Harold Perelson struck his sleeping wife Lillian with a ball-peen hammer and bludgeoned her to death before she could even know what was happening and before she could even scream for her life. She died by asphyxiation? That's how you say it.
Oh,
she basically drowned in her own blood.
Yeah.
That's a hard word to say. The case would be different for his teenage daughter, Jude, who wailed and wailed, screaming for her life as he made his way into her bedroom. Neighbors could hear as she yelled, "Don't kill me!" Reportedly, they could also hear her father instructing her to lay still and keep quiet. Using the same hammer he did on his wife, he struck his daughter, but not with good enough aim. She was able to escape after seeing her mother laying there dead in a pool of her own blood. She ran to the neighbors to get help. 2 younger siblings, Joel and Debbie, had by now woken up. The patriarch of the family told them to go back to sleep and said his last words to them, "This is only a nightmare." Wow. He then took 2 doses of Nembutal and 31 pills, believed to have been a tranquilizer or some form of codeine. By the time emergency responders arrived to the scene, he was dead. The estate was sold at a probate auction to husband and wife Julian and Emily Enriquez. Here is where it gets even creepier. The Enriquez family apparently never moved in. After their deaths, their son Rudy inherited the house and is quoted by the Los Angeles Times saying, "I don't know that I want to live there or even stay here." The house reportedly sat uninhabited and still in time for 50 years and was only used as a storage by Rudy Enriquez. Those who peeked and those who had been inside the house say that the house remained unchanged and appeared abandoned in time and in place as it was before the murders. Rudy died in 2015. Before the house went up on the market and was cleaned up, pictures were taken of it as it was by the photographer. One word, eerie. The house looks lived in. Things seem to be left as they were before the murders. The mail still piled up together. There is even cat litter from the long gone family's pets. Though the origins are unknown, gold ribbon for presents could also be found inside the house. You can find these pictures online today with even video footage taken by the photographer.
Now we have Lawson Family Massacre, 1929, Germantown, North Carolina. So today, the last and one of the only portraits the Lawson family took remains very infamous. Just a few days before Christmas, 43-year-old Charlie Lawson, a rural and working-class sharecropper, took his family shopping for new outfits to get their portraits taken. Back then, this wasn't really normal for someone of his social standing and financial means. Some in that era may have even called it peculiar and odd, which would later go on to lead to what had been a premeditated act on his part. Fast forward to the afternoon on Christmas Day, and all but one of the Lawsons would be dead. Waiting by his barn for 2 of his daughters, Carrie, age 12, Maybelle, age 7, to head out to their aunt and uncle's, Charlie saw them walk out and shoot them both with a 12-gauge shotgun and proceeded to bludgeon them almost unrecognizably. He moved their bodies into the barn and then stalked towards his other family members, shooting his wife, Fanny, 37, who was on the porch. Alerted by the shotgun, his sons, James, 4 years old, and Raymond, 2, tried to seek refuge and escape him by hiding. He shot his daughter Marie, 17, and then both boys. He then bludgeoned his youngest 4-month-old infant, baby girl Mary Lou, to death. Oh my God.
Ew.
He then walked into the woods and killed himself. Family annihilators even way back then. His oldest boy, 16-year-old Arthur, had been the sole survivor as he had been sent into town to run an errand on purpose, I wonder. Had he wanted to spare his life? We will never know. The bodies of each family member were found with rocks beneath their heads and their arms crossed. To this day, motive and reason behind the murders remain a mystery. It has been speculated due to statements by relatives of the family about Fanny voicing concern that Charlie carried an ancestral relationship with Marie. Whether this had something to do with this family massacre, We would never know.
We should do that.
It's a good
one.
story.
Yeah. Number 7. Good Samaritan killed for kindness. 2016.
You better have some big words in this.
Washington, D.C. Ready? Trisha McCauley was an up-and-coming actress and yoga instructor. On Christmas Day, Trisha was on her way to Christmas dinner with her friends, but Trisha never made it to dinner. Friends and family tried reaching out to her that night, but they never got any responses, so they filed a missing persons report. They spent that night and the next day looking for her. It wasn't long until the 26th of the next day that officers found her white Scion parked outside of CVS, and standing outside of the vehicle was Adrian Dwayne Johnson, and inside the car was Trisha's body. A man fitting Johnson's description was seen by a witness driving the vehicle around. Johnson has a criminal history of multiple theft charges. He was caught on camera robbing convenience stores, and he was ordered to wear an ankle monitor, but never showed up to get it put on. Johnson claimed that Trisha offered him a ride, a total stranger, and said the two of them had consensual sex, and she ended her own life by hanging herself in her car.
That's so easy to do.
And before that, she told him, go ahead, take all my credit cards and cash.
Please
I
do.
want you to have it all. When back in real life, her body was found in the back seat with no ligature marks around her neck, and he even picked up a prostitute with her corpse in the back seat.
Uh-oh.
When police asked him why he didn't bring her to the hospital, he said he didn't really think she was dead. He thought she was asleep in the back of the car. Turns out she had been severely beaten, her legs were tied up, she had been sexually assaulted, and her clothes were torn. So, Crazy Eyes Johnson, you should see this guy, he's got crazy eyes, was arrested and charged with her murder. He was convicted and sentenced to a whopping 30 years.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
I know.
Are we going to Dayton, Ohio?
We sure is.
This was a story on my list. What number were we at?
7. I think we only have...
No. This is probably like 8. I'm the evens.
Oh.
8, maybe. We're almost there. All right, 8th story. From December 24th to December 26th, in 1992, 6 people were killed, 2 injured, in one of the worst killing sprees in Dayton, Ohio's history. The Dayton Daily News reported, the massacre became known as the Christmas Killings and began when Laura Taylor, DeMarcus Smith, Heather Matthews, and Marvelous Keene shot for their first victim. All the black people were like, oh, hail us black people. Joseph Wilkerson to death on December 24th inside his home. They continued their shooting spree for days. Their initial motive was robbery, but when Keene grew paranoid about snitches, according to Crime and Investigation, 2 of them were killed when the group became concerned they could implicate the 4 in the other deaths. The killers were arrested on December 26th, and Taylor, Smith, and Matthews are serving life sentences for murder. Keene was convicted in 5 of the killings and was executed by lethal injection in July of 2009. Oh, that was number 7. Now we got number 8. Oh.
Now we're on number 9.
Okay.
The John Benet Ramsey murder.
Uh-oh.
1996, Boulder, Colorado. Now, if you don't know this story or this name, I don't know what rock you've been laying under for the past how many years. So, I'm going to give you the facts. Here
I
we go.
didn't know it was in Boulder.
Yeah. Well, it's weird because, we were like 10 or 12 around this time. So,
were you?
oh, I was
what I
probably
was.
10.
1996? Oh, no, I was in high school.
Oh, oh my gosh, I was 10.
I was
John-
a sophomore.
JonBenet Ramsey. She was 6 years old. She lived in Boulder, Colorado. Her parents were John and Patsy, and her older brother named Burke. So the last time anyone saw JonBenet alive was around 10 p.m. on Christmas Day. The family returned from a Christmas party, and the parents put JonBenet and Burke to bed. Around midnight on December 26th, a neighbor said he saw lights turn on in the Ramsey kitchen. At around 2 a.m., another neighbor reported hearing loud screams coming from the Ramsey home. And then around 5:30 a.m., Patsy wakes up and sees a 3-page handwritten note. The note essentially said that JonBenet had been kidnapped and the ransom they demanded was $118,000. The most suspicious thing about this was that was the exact amount of the Christmas bonus that the father John had recently received.
It's a big-ass bonus.
Big old bonus. I wish I could get that kind of bonus. Police were called about 20 minutes later around 5:52 a.m. Then at 10:30 a.m., the father, John, suddenly left to go check the mail, even though the mail was delivered through the slot in their door. And so in an unbelievable twist, JonBenet is found in the basement of their home at 1 p.m. She had a skull fracture. She was strangled to death. She was bound by duct tape. And they suspected an intruder entered the home and from where she was found, but the window to that room had an undisturbed cobweb covering it, which would have been broken if somebody had climbed through it. But the brother Burke said he also had claimed that he slept through the whole thing. Also, in JonBenet's stomach, the contents showed pineapples and milk, which were her brother Burke's favorite meal. Handwriting, yes, a little sus. Handwriting expert showed that the ransom note matched that of Patsy Ramsey. In 2006, Patsy Ramsey died of ovarian cancer, and in 2008, the parents were cleared of any involvement in the murder. And to this day, the murder remains open and unsolved. And side note, John Ramsey is now married to Natalie Holloway's
mama. That's so weird. Fun fact.
Fun fact.
We have to cover this story at some point.
I
know it's everywhere, but I've never done a deep dive.
I haven't either. And so you think about it and you're like, oh, what? And then you really have no idea what even happened.
No.
Until you get into it.
No.
You can do this one.
My third question I'm going to ask Jesus when I go to heaven. What happened to JonBenet Ramsey?
Oh, I can't wait to hear about your first two.
Number 10, the Klopp Axe murder. This is 2014 in Paradise Township, Pennsylvania. Caroline, no playing. Your name's by it. Okay, a man killed his wife during an argument on Christmas Eve, then took their 2 children to celebrate Christmas with his parents before calling the police to confess. He didn't want to ruin their Christmas, I guess. Yeah. Dustin Lee Klopp, 36, punched Stephanie in the face, cut her throat, and repeatedly bashed her head with an axe and sexually assaulted her at their Paradise Township home about 10 p.m. Wednesday on Christmas Eve, according to Pennsylvania State Police in Lancaster. So Klopp then tried to clean up the blood and moved Kelfner's, his wife's, body to a shed at the property. He called state police the next day to tell them he killed Kelfner and wanted to turn himself in. A trooper arrived at their property and found Kelfner's body in a car carrier bag in the shed. Klopp was charged with homicide, abuse of a corpse, and tampering with or fabricating evidence. Lancaster County District Attorney Craig Stedman said the children didn't see what happened Klopp was arrested in September 2009 on drug charges. He pleaded guilty and served a minimum of a 2 to 4 prison term. He was released in 2011. Klopp's criminal history also includes 2 guilty pleas to DUI in 2007, also with a plea to resisting arrest in one case, a 1997 guilty plea to burglary, and simple assault to a 2001 guilty plea to burglary and resisting arrest. He just kept it going. Klopp never made it to trial because in less than 3 months after the murder, he hung himself in his jail cell.
Way to
How
go,
ridiculous
Klopp.
are you?
Way to go, Klopp. 11. This is actually going to count for 11 and 12 because it's so good.
Okay.
The Carnation Murders, 2007, Carnation, Washington. In a small town about 25 miles east of Seattle lived the Anderson family. We have a lot of names here, so keep up. Wayne and Judy Anderson had been married for about 30 years. Wayne worked as an engineer for Boeing, and Judy worked at a local post office. They had 3 kids together, Scott, Michelle, and Mary. Scott was married to Erica, and they had 2 kids, 5-year-old Olivia, 3-year-old Nathan. Michelle was dating a man named Joseph McEnroe. Now, the Anderson family lived on a 10-acre property. On Christmas Eve, 2007, Wayne and Judy had planned a family gathering to celebrate Christmas. Decorations were up, the kids were excited to open gifts, they were ready to see Santa. Well, the 2 people that were not present at the home that evening were Michelle and her boyfriend, Joseph. But soon, they would make their appearance. When both of them burst through the door, each holding handguns, Michelle fired a shot at her father, Wayne, while he was just relaxing, reading a newspaper, but she missed. Her gun jammed. And then Joseph approached Wayne and shot him dead. Joseph then turned the gun on Judy and shot her dead as well. They dragged their bodies out to the shed and waited on Scott and Erica and the 2 kids because they had yet to arrive to the home. About an hour after killing the parents, the rest of the family arrived at the home. But Michelle and Joseph, they both started firing immediately when they entered the home. And they also fired at the children. Scott was shot 4 times until he died. Erica managed to call 911 and could be heard screaming on the phone, quote, "Not the kids," unquote. And then the phone went dead. They shot Erica twice, killing her, and then Michelle's gun ran out of bullets. And she tells Joseph to kill the 2 kids who were clinging on to their dead parents.
God.
So he shoots them both and kills them. Within hours, police arrive and Michelle confessed that her brother owed her $40,000 and hadn't paid her back. And she was tired of being stepped on by the family.
Wow.
They both received 6 life sentences.
Was she the middle child?
Oh, we middle children have syndromes.
Wow. That does count for 2 murders.
That counts for 2 murders because that is a
Doozy.
good one.
That was a doozy. All right, y'all. Those are the 11/12 murders of Christmas. And we are so happy you guys ended the year with us.
We love y'all. We hope you enjoyed our reading voices. We hope you enjoyed our background music. We hope you enjoyed our smell, even though that's weird. And, we hope you have a wonderful Christmas.
Hey, this is officially
Happy
6
New
months,
Year.
right?
I don't know. Oh, maybe.
Yeah. So we've been going for 6 months. So thank y'all so much for the past 6 months.
We love it.
And we
you.
look forward to 2022.
Oh my gosh.
And there's no telling what's going to happen because it's us. We are planning, but nothing's set in stone. So just get ready for January and some more stories and some more bloodiness.
And enjoy your holiday season with your family. And guess what? Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, cheers,
Take
cheers.
a drink. Take
a drink. All right. Don't forget, rate, review, and subscribe, and send this episode or one of our other episodes to a bunch of your friends. We will see y'all in 2021. 2022.
Are you in this year?
If not before. All right. Never forget to
Stay aware.
stay alive.
And always be DTF.
Bye, y'all. The classical music makes you very soft. It relaxes.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.